Echo Pond is a project here in Massachusetts. It's on an 11-acre raw site. Months of work it took to get from the street to the home's location. And the home was inspired by this Nordic cabin in the woods. From a shape perspective, it's very simple, but from a detailing perspective, there's a lot of complications and a lot of considerations that had to go into this project. We're collaborating with Andersen Windows for a number of reasons. The home itself was actually framed off-site. We went through a formal shop drawing process, and what that required us to do is really think about the whole home prior to ever stepping foot on site. But it also required us to work with all of the partners, the architect, the engineer, the framing subcontractor, as well as Andersen, to make sure that we're taking all of these things into consideration. On the first floor, we have all lift slide units. Everything is floor to ceiling. We had very specific details that we needed to hit to make sure that the walls were built exactly to specification, because while we were framing off site, we were also doing site work on site, and Andersen was actually fabricating the windows all at the same time. As soon as the home was framed and done, windows were already on site and prepped and ready to be installed. So the slab on grade foundation system is unique in itself. We needed to make sure that the floors were dead flat, setting the stage for the entire project. All of our first floor lift slide units actually sit into a recessed pocket, or what Andersen refers to as a dap out, on that concrete slab. And what that allows us to accomplish is that floor to ceiling detail. Using Andersen's patented flush track system gives us a zero threshold from inside to outside, which was a huge part of the brief on this project. We really wanted to make sure that it felt seamless stepping from the landscape into the home. We have our first unit installed here, and this is a 3-panel unit. We have this large fixed panel in the middle, and then we have these 2 operable units on either side. Let's talk about the key installation details. Tolerance between top of concrete slab and bottom of our lift slide doors is less than 1/8 of an inch. It's a very tight tolerance, and the benefit of using a lift slide is that when it is in the down position, you can be really tight, but when you need to operate it, that lift slide function lifts the door up and allows for a smooth operation. The most important detail really when you're talking about the installation is getting the track system correct. There's a lot of components that we're looking at here, so I'm gonna walk you through kind of removing the track a moment and then kind of working your way up from there. As we're prepping for this slab, we actually built a piece of formwork that actually stopped the slab at this elevation and gave us this depression. Now that depression is all for the track system because we do want this to be completely flush. That dap out will eventually get filled, but we'll come back to that in a minute. After we've prepped that, we come back and we waterproof. And that waterproofing is the entire dap out and comes up to the face of our concrete slab here. If this was wood, you would do a similar detail. If any water does get in here, it has the chance to get out and away from the home. The track system itself is actually installed with threaded rod, and that threaded rod is set on a straight line all the way down. And then you have these perpendicular supports that essentially give you the ability to adjust not only the track up and down, but then you have these keys to allow the track to be adjusted in and out. That's going to set the stage for the entire install. This is absolutely critical to get right. You want to make sure that you're located in the wall appropriately. So after the sill, you come back and you're going to install all of your jambs, your side jambs, as well as your head jamb. The nice part about the Andersen lift slide series is they use a jacking screw system. So what that essentially is allowing you to do is you're going to get this into your rough opening, and then there's a plastic screw jack in there that allows you to get tight up against your framing. Now traditionally you would see shims or something that's going to basically space in between the frame and your framing, and you're screwing through that. They've made it a little bit easier by adding that jacking screw to essentially getting you positive connection back to your framing, and then you're driving that structural screw through the jamb into your framing. Over time, there's always adjustments that need to be made. And the nice part about the jacking screws, you can get in there and you can actually adjust that screw should you ever need to. Rather than having to back out a screw and re-shim it, you're able to adjust that within the unit. You can see how much adjustment is available, not only the track system, but as well as the jambs. So the track is an extruded aluminum. There's 2 rails here, and if you look really close, they actually have this stainless steel screen in there. The stainless steel screen is really to prevent crud from getting in there and clogging it up. But then you have all of these drainage ports. This track here will be exposed to the elements at all times. This track here is strictly for the outside fixed unit, where this one is going to be underneath your lift slide that is separating outside from inside. But this track here is going to see water. So water is going to get down and in there. It's going to find the hole, and it's going to travel down and out these tubes. Now, Andersen has a bunch of details in their installation, and their tech is actually on site working through some of that with our team and understanding, hey, where does this go? You can drop that directly out straight into it. You can collect it through, say, a piece of PVC and bring it to a specific drainage location. But the key detail here is that they're managing water. All of the prep work is in the frame. Once that's in and confirmed that it's plumb, it's level, and it's square, these panels are ready to be installed. They come out of the crate. We're actually going to install the 2 operable units first. It's really straightforward. The door comes over, it gets lifted up, the head of that door slides up, allowing the bottom of the door to swing in and then land down on the track. We actually saw in Oceanside how that lift system works. So you have the roller wheels on the bottom, and then when you turn that handle, they basically deploy those wheels and push the door up, allowing that really smooth operation. Same thing with the fixed unit, except there's no wheels on the bottom of this one. You know, we're going to bring in the 2 operable units just enough to allow our interlocking device, which you can actually see through the glass right here. But that interlocking device, you want to make sure that those are out of the way, so when you slide in your fixed panel, then you close the operable panels, they interlock with one another. So that fixed panel will go in, it will be centered, make sure it's exactly where it needs to be, and then the weight of that will drop down on the track. It is going to sit there and then be permanently attached. So in this case, we have lift slides on the entire first floor, and as of right now, you can pass through them, but the design intent here is that these are actually large windows. So we opted to do fixed screens, meaning that they will not operate. We're also working with a narrow wall cavity, and that's really by design. If we wanted to have a sliding screen, we'd have to increase the width of this unit or use a roller type screen. But what's important to note is that any of the screen options is going to be a custom option. So we worked with Andersen to figure out what made sense from a design intent, and also just the way that the home will be experienced. And ultimately, that's why we ended up with these fixed screens. These are aluminum units with wood clad. So what that means is the structural component of it is all aluminum, as well as the exterior. And then on the inside, we're actually clad with the wood. So I want to go inside, and that way you can see how you operate these doors. You have this large fixed unit in the middle here. And you can see kind of that interlocking detail through the glass here. So essentially these 2 pieces of aluminum are going to catch each other, and then you have these gaskets on both sides that's going to create your air tightness right there. So that door goes all the way against the jamb. This handle is in the down position. So if you can think about lift slide, you know, now your wheels are down, you're going to grab that handle and you're going to lift it up, and you can see the door actually start moving towards the jamb. And the nice part is Andersen's lift slide product has these catches, and what happens is that you essentially have this locking mechanism that as you push the handle up, they grab the catch on the jamb, pulling that door tight. So if I were to push this down, the door lifts up. You can actually see what that catch mechanism looks like. So there's actually 4 of them on this door, 1 down here, here, and here. And then on the door itself, you have essentially the receiving end. And if I were to drop this handle here, you can actually see that drop down and how that would grab that unit and pull that door really close. Really nice detail, because you want these doors to pull tight. You want them to be a high performance door and make sure that they're operating as intended. So pull that close, push the handle up, and now it's locked. So you can stand back and you can see how this unit comes together. We actually have a rendering here, and this is essentially what the product will look like in its final condition. You can see how that sill detail on the outside comes together, how it interacts with our mega shingle cladding, and then even through the glass you see that polished concrete. So the Echo Palm project was something that was always going to take really strong collaboration. So working with Andersen and everyone involved to make sure that we were manufacturing this through a formal shop drawing process allowed us to build efficiency here on site. If you want to learn more about Andersen's lift slide products and including on how to install them, visit andersenwindows.com.